Join Herman and Sharron with their special guests on the road in Nashville, Tennessee.
I love you. Thank you for
Yes, we
joining
do.
us in Nashville, Tennessee at the National Religious
Broadcasters
Broadcasters
Convention.
Convention right here. And we will have a lot of things going on around us.
Yes.
We might even have somebody walking up behind me and trying to hit me. Just kidding.
Hopefully not.
But I like to be in the midst of action. So
And we
we're
are
right here on
here.
the floor, and all of the ministries and the new tech stuff that's coming out right here. So it's exciting. We're at the Opryland Hotel in Nashville. If you ever have an opportunity to stay in a hotel in Nashville, pick this one.
Yeah, it's very unusual and a beautiful place.
It's kind of like the Garden of Eden, okay? Right here. Tell them about
We're
who we
getting
have.
all these Christian celebrities with us, and
Yes.
now we have Dr. Gary Chapman, and
Wow.
everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's the author of the #1 New York Times bestselling The 5 Love Languages, and he's a director of Marriage and Family Life Consultants Incorporated. He's over 40 years of counseling experience. 40 years, wow. And he travels the world presenting seminars and radio programs. He has over 400 stations,
Good.
his radio program. And he's got a new book here.
Good
This
to be with
This is
you.
the newest
Yeah.
book, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace.
Boy, do we need that.
Can you imagine
Appreciation.
And you know, when I'm reading this, empowering organizations by encouraging people. We need that, don't we?
Well, I think we desperately need it. You know, 70% of the people who work say that they feel almost no appreciation from the people with whom they work. That's pretty abnormal, I
That's
think.
sad.
Yeah.
Has it always been that way, or is it
Well, I
worse
don't know.
now?
I think it's gone up recently. And the people who leave their jobs, 64% say, I'm leaving because nobody here appreciates me. They're not going for more money. They're going because they don't feel appreciated.
Wow.
Of course, in today's world, they're not leaving because there's nowhere to go. They can't get another job. But they're working, and they're only doing what's necessary to keep the job. They're not giving it 100% because they're not motivated. They don't feel appreciated.
And they probably feel if they gave it 100%, they wouldn't know the difference.
That's right. They still wouldn't be appreciated.
You're appreciated, Linda.
So we're trying.
She's our assistant. Right off camera. All you guys are appreciated. We love you to death.
So we're trying to help businesses and nonprofits learn the power of appreciation. You know, we've done a fairly good job through the years in businesses in recognizing people. If they reach a milestone of 10 years with the company, or if they meet a sales, quota, we recognize them. But what we're talking about is not recognition. We're talking about appreciation for who they are, not simply for what they do, but for who they are.
That's
and if people
interesting.
feel appreciated, then they're motivated. They want to give to whatever it is.
It's starting, now he's got sections in this book. You will love it, easy read, easy to understand, motivational for yourself. But you talk about language number 1, words of affirmation. How does that begin?
Using words to affirm people. It can focus on something they did, to be sure. I really appreciate the fact that you stayed late last night and finished that project. Just words of affirmation. But it can also focus on their character. What if someone walked up to you and said, in the workplace, one of the things I admire about you is your integrity. I know that if I give you a job, it's going to be done right, and I know I can trust you. That person goes home and they're thinking, man,
That's right.
they see that I'm a trustworthy person. It's a powerful motivator. So you can focus on almost anything. Even their personality. I say one of the things I like about you is you almost always smile, and I like that about you. You just look for things to express appreciation.
Look for
and what we
things.
found out is that people also differ in where they would like to hear words of appreciation. For example, some people like to be called up in front of the group and say, I just want to express appreciation to Sharron because of what she did this week and da-da-da.
Don't ever do that to me.
That's right. Other people
I do
don't
not
want
like
it.
that.
They
Yes.
don't want
Yes.
it, see?
Yeah.
They would much rather you come by their office or where they're working and say, I really appreciate what you did last night. Do it in private, but not in front of other people. So you have to also know which people prefer. And one of the things we're saying in this book is, certainly people have expressed appreciation in the workplace, but they assume that one size fits all, that if you recognize somebody or say something about them positive, then they get it. But that's not the language of every person. So you have to learn the different, just like in the love languages in a marriage, you have to learn the appreciation language in the workplace.
This has a lot of similarities.
Yes.
Because the adaptability of that can even carry into the workplace.
Absolutely, and that's essentially what we're doing. We're taking the 5 love languages that help so many couples in marriage, we're taking it to work, and we're calling it appreciation, not love in the workplace, but work appreciation. We want people to feel appreciated.
Wow. You say, I mean, and you would have to have a relation with your employees, your fellow workers, in order to find out some of this stuff. But in your book, you talk about, some people say, I hate when my boss says, good job, guys. Way to go. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Share that.
See, people can tell whether you're sincere or whether it's just rote.
Yeah.
And there are some leaders for whom they're always saying that kind of thing. Good job, keep up the good work.
They've heard it down the way.
That's right.
Before.
And they just say it and say it and say it. And it's just like in a marriage. You just say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and it can just become
If that ever ends, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously, appreciation has to be sincere. People can tell when you're not sincere, when you're just surface or you're trying to manipulate them. It has to be sincere. But even if you're sincere, it's not enough. You have to learn how to express appreciation in the language of the individual if you want it to be effective.
So if you have a boss that never shows any appreciation or ever tells you that you've done a good job or anything like that, should you go up to him and say, what's the problem? Or do you just live with it?
Well, I think what we're trying to say is, and we wrote this book so it can start anywhere in a company.
True.
It can start with a manager, or it can start with an employee who reads the book and says, hey, we need this in our workplace. Why don't the 5 of us who work together take the quiz, online quiz, and a free quiz comes with each book, and let's find out what each other's primary language is, and what each other's secondary language is, and what the one that's least important to us, so that at least we 5 will know how to appreciate each other. And so they learn.
That's a good starting point.
And then they can share it with somebody in another group, and then they pick it up, and it can permeate the company. So it doesn't have to start from the top down. It can start anywhere in the company.
Listen to language number 2, quality time. Tell me how things are going. You got to ask that question. And a quality conversation. Now, show me how that would work.
These are the people who appreciate it when you give them individual attention, as opposed to group attention. When you stop by where they work and just have a conversation with them, maybe inquiring about their work and what we could do to make things better.
Just pull up a chair and sit down.
Yeah, just pull up a chair and sit down. Or maybe you're inquiring about their family. How's the family doing? How's your son doing? He's in the Navy, right? Where is he stationed now? Expressing interest in them. For these people, when you give them undivided attention, and you focus in on them and show interest in them, they feel appreciated. You can give them words of affirmation and it just kind of rolls off the back. But when you sit down and give them some quality time, some undivided attention, it really communicates you care about them.
What comments have you heard as a result of this book?
You know, one lady said, for example, on this particular language, she said, you know, when we initiated this, I wasn't even thinking about appreciation. But when I got to thinking about it, and I realized that the reason I like my supervisor so well is that she will come down at least every other week and sit down in my office for 5 or 10 minutes and have a conversation with me about me and my work or my family or whatever. And she said, I didn't realize why I felt so appreciated, but now I do. She's speaking my language.
That's wonderful.
It meant something.
Language number 3. Now remember, there's lots of comments throughout the chapter, so we're just kind of going over the surface part of it. But if you want in-depth, you need to get the book, go to that website you're seeing on the screen. Make yourself available to all of his materials. They're all there for you. But language number 3, acts of service. Look for opportunities to help a co-worker.
Yeah. It's such things as saying, I'm going to the workroom. Is there anything down there I could get for you while I'm down there? It's offering to help them. Or it's seeing a co-worker who is overcome by the work. They've got more than they can do. And so you offer to help them. But what we found is this. If you're going to offer to help someone else, make sure your own job is caught up. Otherwise you're going to get in trouble with your supervisor.
Right.
And also,
And they might start coming in and asking you to.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And also you ask the person, would it be helpful to you if I did this? Because some people don't want help.
That's
exactly
right.
You know, but if you say, would it be helpful
Great
to
comment.
you if I did this?
Yeah.
And they say yes, then you say, now how would you like for me to do it? Do it their way,
Yes.
not your way. Do it their way. And if you do, and this is their language, they're going to really feel appreciated that you took time to enter into their work and help them with their work, and you did it in a way that was meaningful to them.
So now you have a quiz in this book?
There is. It's an online quiz,
Yeah.
and it comes free with the book. You get a code, and you go
Yeah.
online. And once you take that, we call it the MBA, the Motivating by Appreciation Inventory.
That's great.
And once you take that inventory, it tells you what your primary appreciation language is, and what your number 2 is, and then what the one is least important to you. And then you understand why, let's say, gifts have never meant anything to me. They give me a gold watch, and they give me a plaque, and
A cake.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now a cake would be different.
I just touched his appreciation button.
But once you get that information, then we let you go back on that inventory, and in your number 1, give us about 5 or 6 specific things that would be meaningful to you. If, for example, if gifts happens to be your language, we would say, give us 5 kind of gifts you would like. And it's probably things you'd never think of. They may say, I'd like a gift certificate. If you want to give me something, give me a gift certificate to the mall or to my special restaurant or whatever, So it's learning, first of all, for yourself, and then sharing that with your coworkers so that everyone now knows how to express appreciation if you want to.
Yeah.
I love this because he says the language for tangible gifts, and he says more than a mug.
Yeah.
Because that is the
Got a
truth.
lot of mugs.
It's like everybody wants to give you a mug, and you go, okay, my shelf is now full.
That's right. You got all the mugs you want and
Yeah.
all the pens you want, likely.
Yeah.
But and you have to know, if gifts is their language, then you need to know what kind of gifts. Otherwise, you can go out and buy something that's very expensive, but it's not something they really want.
Yeah.
Far better to find out what they want and get them something that they want.
Absolutely.
Language 5, physical touch.
Can't do that anymore.
But you again, it's knowing the person, right?
It is.
Because some will not. I mean, you can do that,
Yeah.
and you know that they like that.
That's right.
But some can do, because I've even had people where I wanted to hug them.
Yeah.
They'll,
They stiffen up.
yes. Well, it's like this.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
you immediately know.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
See, we did pilot projects for 3 years before we wrote this book in all kind of businesses.
Ah.
And the HR people pushed back on physical touch. They said,
Oh,
wait a
really?
minute, physical touch in the workplace? No.
That's right.
And we even thought, well, maybe we should just leave that out. But then we thought, a touchless society?
That's what we're heading for.
Yeah.
Even the kids in school, you're not allowed to touch
I
the little
know.
They
children.
they actually say
You can't give them
that
comfort.
Yeah.
physically there is something
not
that
sup-
I give off
That's right.
to you when
That's
I
right.
do that.
That's right. Yeah.
So
And
you're touching him right now.
We can't be a touchless society.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what we said is exactly what you said. Observe the people you work with. If they're always patting other people on the back, then you know that touch will be meaningful to them. If you don't ever see them touch anybody, then probably
hear
touch is
that?
not their
Yeah,
language.
that's right.
you
That's
know.
the key.
So you just observe them. Yeah.
See, that's what you learned from this book.
Yeah.
And reading that, I didn't realize that, because you need, again, the workplace that you're in, observe what's going on.
That's right. Yeah. And in every culture, there are appropriate touches and inappropriate touches.
Mm-hmm.
And so we deal with that in the book. I mean, we have to deal with that. With this
Yeah.
sexual harassment thing, we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But the reality is there are affirming touches in the workplace. It can be a pat on the back, it can be a high five, it can be a firm handshake for that matter. And for some people, this is very, very meaningful.
Okay, now this is interesting. The least valued language of appreciation.
Yeah.
So you're talking about people have blind spots.
That's right. If let's say, for example, words of affirmation is the lowest on your 5. So you didn't grow up getting words of affirmation. You never give words of affirmation. you're a manager of people, and your attitude is, look, if they do their job, why should I give them verbal compliments for just doing their job? That's right, they're getting paid, you know. And so, because words are not meaningful to them, that's their blind spot. They cannot conceive how words would be interesting to somebody else or meaningful to someone else. And so they will likely not give words of affirmation. And that's why, in incorporating this into the culture of the company, that person can say, okay, now, Sharron's language is words of affirmation. It doesn't come natural for me. I better make me a note here and put me a little post-it stick here that once a week I'm gonna say something positive to Sharron about her life. Yeah. So you can learn to do it, but it is your blind spot. If gifts is your language, if is the language of the other person, but it's number 5 on your list, you'll say, why should I give them a gift? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but it makes sense to them. And the key is you have to understand that what makes you feel loved is not what makes them feel loved or appreciated.
So would it be like, because you'd have to take this test before you'd ever know, what the person appreciates. So like would that be the head of the company that would have everyone take this test, or how would that work?
Well, that would be ideal if everybody in the group, the work group at least, took the test and then we shared it with the group.
Yeah.
And online you can get a form where you can put that out and give it to everybody. We did this in a medical setting, for example, with doctors and their residents that work with them, and we gave them a pre-test on job satisfaction. And then we took them all through the inventory, and they shared with each other their languages. And then every week we sent out an email to them reminding them that we're working on learning how to appreciate each other. And then we did, 3 months later, we get a post-test on job satisfaction. And the level was much higher after they'd had 3 months of learning how to express appreciation to each other. So it works in any setting.
This is so neat. We were talking to a friend that works for a big corporation network, and she was saying they were trying to find a quality people that could teach, because they have a lot of people, this very thing.
Yeah.
Because apparently there's not a lot of this going on, and then the ones that you choose, you would not want their opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's outside of what the Word of God would want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what we're doing, Dr. Paul White, with whom I wrote this book, is a Christian psychologist who's had 20 years experience in business. And so he is a consultant to larger businesses that would like to initiate this, for their whole company. And he's working with them. Appreciationatwork.com is another website where you can go and learn more about this. Appreciationatwork.com. Yeah.
Right.
Now, to come up with this concept, you've got to want to get this out there. Now, I mean, how do you wake up one day and say, I want to help companies, secular, Christian, whatever, to get this message? How does that become such a burning desire?
I'll tell you how it developed. I've had so many people through the years say to me, Dr. Chapman, your book on the 5 love languages, it's helped me at my work, in my work relationships. And I would say, tell me about it.
Yeah.
And they'd tell me their story.
Okay.
And so after a while I realized, this would really help a lot of people if we could put this in, in a book that people could understand. And so I've had probably a dozen people want to write this book with me, but it just never clicked. You could just tell they weren't the right person. But when I met Dr. White, he's a solid Christian and a PhD in psychology and 20 years experience with business. And we both went to Wheaton College. So it kind of connected,
I went to Wheaton Academy.
Yeah, okay. It connected.
Yeah.
And it's been a great teamwork. I've just really enjoyed working with him. So he is kind of taking this message to the workplace. I'm still focusing on marriage and family because that's my heart, that's my passion.
Yeah.
But this is his passion. And it was just a great marriage when the two of us met and decided to work on this. Yeah.
Now, how do you do that? I mean, he's got his thing, you've got your thing.
Well, he did the pilot projects, which was the hard work of trying this out in all these different settings. And he did it in all kinds of things, construction companies, hair salons, hospitals, nonprofit organizations. One of the things we found out in nonprofits is, they use a lot of volunteers. Well, the reason people volunteer and the reason they stay volunteering are different. They volunteer because they want to make a difference in the world, and they feel like that this will help make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
But the reason they often continue to be volunteers is because they feel appreciated.
Ah.
So it's not just enough that they're
That's
making it,
interesting.
they want to feel appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he did all the hard work and the pilot projects, and then he would write chapters, I would write chapters, we'd interact with each other, you know. It was a process, but it was a good process.
How long did it take?
Well, we worked on it about 3.5 or 4 years before we actually got the book out. Yeah, so it was a long project.
I guess so.
But we're hoping that this book is going to do for work relationships what the 5 love languages did for marriage relationships. And as you know, that book has sold over
Bestseller.
7 million copies.
7 million.
In English, and been translated in 40 languages around the world. So it's been
Unbelievable.
exciting.
That was the right title for the book
It
and
was.
the right stuff.
It was, yeah.
You talk about in section 4, overcoming common obstacles.
Yeah, one of the common obstacles is busyness. In fact, sometimes when Paul would present this to a group, they would come back and say, look, we're overwhelmed already. We don't have time to learn how to appreciate and do all this. We're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And what we say is, we understand that. Everybody's busy, and you feel like it's all falling off your plate sometimes. But if you want to get the most out of your employees in the long run, this is a good investment of time. The return on your investment is going to be worth the time it takes for you to teach your people how to express appreciation to each other. So once businesses see that this has a bottom line for them, it is a motivator for them. Not the best motivator in my opinion, but it's still a motivator for them.
Now, are the heads of companies as interested in this kind of thing today because they've got that thing in the back of their head that says they're not going to walk,
Yeah.
they can't get a job.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
I don't have to do any PR stuff.
Yeah. There is a lot of that thinking today. But the wiser leaders realize that getting the most out of the employees you have is important. That if they're committed to the task, if they are engaged in the task and they have the vision and they feel appreciated, you're going to accomplish far more as a company with the same people as you would accomplish if they didn't feel appreciated. So they're right about that. People aren't going to walk nearly as freely today because they don't have anywhere to walk.
There's no place to shop.
That's right. But if you want to get the most out of them and you want the company to have its best results, then everybody needs to be 100%. And this helps them get engaged and give everything they've got to it.
What
you
is?
are,
Yes.
you are
well,
so well known in the marriage field with your book and everything. What made you have that interest in saving marriages like you did?
You know, I started to work in the church. I've worked on the same church staff now for 40 years.
How many?
40 years in North
Wow.
Carolina.
Wow.
And when I got in the church, working on the staff, I was doing small group educational things, and I found out that where people are hurting the most was in marriage and family.
Yeah.
And so I started doing classes on marriage and family. And out of that, people wanted to talk individually, those that were struggling. And so I really got pushed into counseling. I didn't plan to go into counseling.
Oh, really?
I got pushed into it. And after a while I thought, I better learn how to do this because people want me to do it. And so then I did study and so forth on counseling. But that's all of my books really in the marriage and family area have grown out of my counseling. Because I reasoned that if I could help one couple, people have similar problems. So if I can put in the book ideas that will help them, I'll help a lot of people I'll never be able to see in the counseling office.
Did it ever frustrate you when they didn't take your advice?
That is the most painful part of being a counselor.
Yeah.
It's also the most painful part of being a pastor. You preach all this great truth, people don't always follow it. And in the counseling office, you give them the best you can give them and you challenge them to take steps, even small steps. But sometimes people won't. They just refuse to take steps. In fact, sometimes people come to counseling, at least one of them, just to prove to themselves that this marriage is not going to work. So they can say, well, we went for counseling and it didn't work. The reality, they weren't willing to take any steps to make it work. Any couple, I don't care where they are, if they're willing to take steps, they can have a better marriage. So I normally don't say to couples, do you want to work on your marriage? Because want to is an emotional word, and they may not want to. They may have lost hope. What I say is, will you work on your marriage? Because if you're willing and will take some steps, then we can see some progress, and then the want to will kick in a little further down the road.
Yes. We're in a lot of trouble in this country with our marriages.
Yeah.
They're really falling apart.
Yeah, I think it's the deepest area of need.
Even in
society.
ministry.
Even in
Yeah.
ministry, that's right. And it's not, because the marriage affects the children.
Oh,
And
big
then the
time.
children-
And I don't care how old they are.
Absolutely, affects the next generation. I had a college student sit in my office not long ago, weeping. He said, Dr. Chapman, my parents separated and divorced 11 years ago. I kept thinking, they'll get back together. They'll get back together. He said, 3 months ago, my mother remarried, and I have been depressed ever since. He lost hope.
Yes, yes.
11 years he kept hoping his
Yeah.
parents would get back together. But obviously when she remarried, that dream was gone. And even as an adult, he's still grappling with the pain
Oh,
and the
yeah.
hurt of that. There's something inside a child that says a mother and daddy should love each other and they should love their children.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, that child is scarred, and I think is scarred for a lifetime.
For a lifetime.
Somebody needs hope. There's your camera. Next minute or two.
I think what I would say to those who are married, there is hope. I understand you can lose hope and you can feel like there is no hope and feel like you've tried everything. But the reality is there's hope. And it starts with one person
Amen.
choosing to love the other person in the right love language unconditionally. No matter what happens, I'm going to let God pour His love into me. I'm going to be His channel for loving my spouse and see what God does. Love is the most powerful weapon in the world. We love God because He first loved us, and the same principle works in a marriage. You love them unconditionally, and your love stimulates a positive response.
Make that decision. Is there anything we talked about today that when the cameras go off, you say, I wish I would have said that? What would that be?
Well, I think I would just say, I would encourage people who are working, and that's most of adults are working. I would challenge them to make the most of their situation. Don't say, well, I'm going to depend on my manager. You know, they're the ones that are supposed to set the pace. You can change the climate in a workplace by you and 2 or 3 of your coworkers learning each other's appreciation language, learning how to speak it, and then it'll spill over to people around you. You can change the climate of your workplace.
Amen. And remember, Jesus Christ is the answer to every need you may have. This book, get it for yourself. What is great about books, pass it on to someone else. Say, you know what? And when you're reading it, because that happens to me when I'm reading, I'm going, this is perfect for so-and-so. Go to that website, get your copy. Bye-bye.